Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayani Namani. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthagutare Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namani. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesh Shunyavadi Paskachad Deshatarani. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gauravakta Vrindam. Om Gyantamyanasya Gananjalashakaya Chakshurum Minitamnina Tajmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai, welcome. Yeah, so today I'm going to answer a question, then we're going to talk about attachment and parenting, and after that we're going to do darshan demo with Pranada, so something that I really look forward to. So question that was emailed in. What do you do when the parts don't trust the self and therefore won't budge from their positions? How do you get the self to take more leadership when its leadership is being subverted by parts? So that's an excellent question and an issue that comes up quite often. For IFS therapy, it's helpful for the therapist or helper to not have an agenda when working with parts, and also not to be careful not to judge parts. Sometimes it's challenging for sure. This would include an agenda to get a part to budge or to get the person's self to take more leadership. So if a part of a therapist has an agenda, perhaps a manager part, uh, uh, she can invite that part to give space so there's more therapist self available to do the session. So, including an agenda, get a part to budge or get the person's self to take more leadership. So it really is, it's a practice of being, present and available with what's in front of us. In school, we were also strongly encouraged to do our own therapeutic trauma work. For example, when I studied IFS, I received regular IFS sessions from an experienced IFS therapist. And when I studied brain spotting, I received brain spotting sessions with a trained brain spotting therapist. So I encourage those who take this class to trade with each other or find a licensed therapist who, preferably takes your insurance, so it's not a financial drain. In the case in question, the focus can be, from the question, the focus can be on curiosity towards the part who likely has valid reasons not to trust easily. All parts are good, and we need to, it's helpful to remind ourselves in the sense they have a positive intention towards their person. So parts can feel abandoned by soul or self due to lack of attention, or there might be something else going on. So initially, either way is fine, but direct access is an option if there's a lot of lack of trust. If the part doesn't really want to interact with self, the part can interact directly with the therapist. So the therapist is then speaking directly to the part. Starting with an open-ended question like, what would you like me to know, can get the part noticing a willingness to listen so the part can be heard. So many parts in our systems have not really gotten that kind of attention and been heard. And then you can let the part know you get it or you understand, and ask the part how old, the part thinks the person is. Because who are they not trusting? Are they not trusting a 5-year-old, or are they not trusting the adult self of that person? So, and this can be followed by updating, and I'll ask the person I'm working with if he or she would like to update the part. And so we learned updating. After updating, I'll invite the part's response to the updating, like, how does that change things for you? Asking more about the part's reasons for not trusting self may follow. Sometimes explaining the qualities of self can be helpful. It may be that the part has trust issues with another part, and it's not the self or soul that the part is not trusting. They think maybe that's the self or soul. So you can help the part know who self is, so that the part can know the difference. At some point, you may ask the part about trust and the part's history with trust. And this could be followed by asking, how can your person earn your trust? An agreement for building trust can be reached. So that can be quite helpful. And now we're getting into attachment styles. So as I describe these attachment styles and parenting styles and child outcomes, think about, what applies to you and your family of origin, your, childhood family, and how you were, and perhaps how you were or are as a parent or aunt or uncle. Think about what may relate to also, you can think about what may relate to those you're helping or people you know. So when I was prepping this, I thought, well, who do I think I was as a parent to my son? And then I asked him, I went through the parenting styles and asked him, and we came up with the exact same conclusion that it was a combination of authoritative and permissive. And of course, knowing what I now know, I would have been a little less on the permissive side, but um, he turned out well, so it's okay. As I described, based on the work of Bowlby and reinforced by more recent research, 4 insecure and 1 secure attachment styles are: 1, anxious, or can be called ambivalent or preoccupied; 2, resistant, also called ambivalent and not always included; avoidant, aka dismissive; disorganized, which is kind of a combo of fearful and avoidant; and then secure. So a child, as we know, is dependent on their parents or caregivers for comfort, soothing, and support. If those caregivers offer a warm and caring environment and are attuned and responsive to the child's physical and emotional needs, even when those needs are not clearly expressed, like especially pre-verbal, the child becomes securely attached. On the other hand, misattunement on behalf of caregivers towards their child's needs is likely to lead to insecure attachment. This may not be intentional, but the child still experiences their needs are not met. So adults raised with an anxious attachment style tend to have a negative self-view and a more positive view of others. Someone with this attachment style considers themselves less worthy of love in comparison to other people. And in relationship, living without their partner or being alone in general tends to cause high levels of anxiety. So this attachment style is characterized by a strong fear of abandonment. To ease this fear, people with this anxious attachment style strongly desire security within the relationship. Attention, care, and responsiveness from a partner may be seen as a remedy for their feelings of anxiety and can be helpful. When someone with this style perceives the absence of support and intimacy, they can then become more clingy and demanding, preoccupied with the relationship, and perhaps desperate for reassurance of love. Thus, people with this attachment style value their relationship highly, but are often hyper aware of real or even imagined threats to their security. They may worry that their loved ones are less committed to the relationship. With the resistant ambivalent subset of anxious attachment style, the child will cry and seek out the parent even before separation, then show anger and struggle when comforted. The child's attempts to get attention tend to be exaggerated. The parents or caregivers that generate this style tend to be inconsistent and unpredictable or self-centered in their parenting. They may use the child to meet their own needs. Someone raised with an avoidant attachment style tends to believe that they don't have to be in a relationship, on to the next one, be in a relationship to feel complete. They may have a more positive view of self and negative view of others. They don't want to depend on others, have others depend on them, or seek support and approval through social bonds. Adults with this attachment style generally avoid the emotional closeness of intimacy. They may withdraw from a relationship if they feel like the other person is becoming reliant on them in this manner. They also tend to hide or suppress their feelings when faced with emotional situations, particularly conflict. As you can imagine, when an anxiously attached person is partnered with an avoidant person, both patterns can be intensified. In the marriage and family therapy program, we learned about relationships where there is a pursuer and a distancer. So marriage therapists are encouraged to advise the pursuer to back off on the pursuit that so often leads to more and more rejection. When given enough space, the distancer may become more available. So that's kind of a one possible simple intervention for that particular combination and relationship. For adults with disorganized attachment style, the fearful avoidant, they both desire and fear their partner and the relationship. They want intimacy and closeness, while at the same time experience difficulty with trust and even more challenge depending on others. This is characterized by a negative view of both self and others. People with this attachment style tend to struggle with identifying, tolerating, and regulating their emotions. They tend to avoid intimacy due to fear of getting hurt. Disorganized attachment is often seen in children who have experienced trauma and abuse. So if you're specializing in trauma, you will run across this one. A meta-analysis of 285 studies, so a whole lot of people, showed 23.5% of children exhibit a disorganized attachment style. So that's about a quarter. Risk factors include poverty, maltreatment, parental mental illness, parental substance abuse, and foster care. 85% of children who survive maltreatment, such as harsh criticism, neglect, and abuse, have this disorganized attachment style. So about a quarter, but then it's well over 3/4, or when there's been that kind of traumatic childhood. This fearful avoidant attachment style typically develops in the first 18 months of life. During this crucial period, their relationship with their primary caregiver or caregivers is characterized by chaos and inconsistency. There may be bizarre parental behavior. Sometimes the parent is aggressive, causing the child to fear the unsafe parent. The violence may be difficult for the child to predict, leaving the child on guard practically all the time around their own parents. So 51.6%, on to the next one, of children who then grow into adults have secure attachment. So, barely more than half. Individuals with secure attachment feel safe, supported, and connected. They are able to express emotions freely and seek comfort from their partner. As children, they confidently explore their environment, knowing they have a solid base to return to. A lot of the studies of this is done with this strange situation where they have the parent and the child, and they observe the child, and then they take the parent out of the room, so there's separation, and they have ways to study these things. The parenting that generates secure attachment doesn't have to be perfect. Intention, along with efforts to accept and nurture and provide for the needs of the child, will tend to foster secure attachment. So now we're on to parenting styles and child outcomes. So even if you're not a parent or grandparent, this is good information to know if you seek to help any parents or grandparents, or are teaching to help foster a healthy, sustainable, intergenerational devotional society. So the following is particularly drawn from, and in the notes it'll have more details, but it's a article with a lot of studies referenced, and that was published at NIH. And it's based on the work of Diane Baumrind in the 1960s. Baumrind in the 1960s. And of course, a lot of research has been done since. So first one, authoritarian parenting. So authoritarian parenting tends to have one-way communication with the parent, where the parent establishes strict rules that the child must obey. Statements like, children should be seen and not heard, spare the rod, spoil the child, or I'll give you something to cry about, and the implied threat of or else may be features of this parenting. I'm not including sort of devotee specific, but you get the general idea. Rules are generally not explained, and negotiating is discouraged or forbidden. They may expect their child to perfectly uphold high standards. Authoritarian parenting is statistically more common in fundamentalist religious households, as opposed to a little more liberal religious households. Mistakes usually need to lead to punishment, often physical punishment. Authoritarian parents are normally less nurturing and have high expectations with limited flexibility. This can be internalized. For example, when a survivor of authoritarian parenting accidentally drops a dish in the kitchen and it breaks, there is generally a lot of extra anxiety and frustration. Research has shown children who live with authoritarian parents may be the most well-behaved in the room. So that kind of makes parents tempted to drift towards this style. The consequences of misbehaving are dire. This style of parenting has been linked to lower academic achievement for children. They may grow up to be attracted to, without maybe unintentionally attracted to strong authoritarian leaders. At the same time, this parenting style tends to result in children who have higher levels of aggression and also could be shy, socially inept, and unable to make their own decisions. This aggression can remain uncontrolled as they were not provided with proper guidance or a calming example. They tend to have poor self-esteem. So there's a pretty high cost for authoritarian parenting. Strict parental rules and punishments often influence the child to rebel against authority figures as they grow older, particularly towards the teenage years. In my practice, I've seen a lot of this anger and rebellion with adults who had authoritarian parenting as children. They often don't want much of a relationship with their parents. And I've noticed when they feel obligated to go home for holidays or, see their parents every so often, they dread it, it comes up in session. So this forceful and aggressive style of parenting in a religious household increases the chance of religious embitterment for the children later in life. I've seen quite a bit of this with adults from different faiths I have worked with. I have seen words like God or Jesus act like trauma triggers, like they may believe in a higher power, but they don't want to call that higher power God or Jesus or, whatever name was used in their authoritarian upbringing. So the next one has the best outcomes. That's authoritative parenting. This type of parent normally develops a close, nurturing relationship with their children. They have clear guidelines for their expectations and explain their reasons associated with their expectations and also with disciplinary actions. Discipline is with caring and is non-punitive And they do not use corporal punishment. The authoritarian style tends to use more corporal physical punishment. Disciplinary methods are used as a way of support, done with love instead of just punishment. Not only can children have input into goals and expectations, but there are also clear and appropriate levels of communication between the parent and their child. Again, this parenting style tends to lead to the healthiest outcomes for children. So they do these longitudinal studies, like what the attachment style is children, and then they stay with them and how they turn out. So that's how they get that information. Authoritative parenting results in children who are confident, responsible, and able to self-regulate their emotions. They can manage their negative emotions effectively, and that leads to healthier social and emotional health. These parents also encourage independence, and their children learn to accomplish goals on their own. This results in children who grow up with higher self-esteem. Also, these children have a high level of academic achievement and school performance that sets them up for later success in life. And that could include success in devotional life. There's interesting evidence that authoritative parenting will increase the chances that parents will successfully transmit their religion to their children. This is pertinent to devotees who would like their children to share their faith and practices. And a little later, I'll talk specifically more about parenting and religion. Permissive parenting, haha. Permissive parents tend to be warm, nurturing, and usually have minimal or no expectations. They impose limited rules on their children. Communication remains open, but parents allow their children to figure things out for themselves. Clear boundaries and discipline are rare. They act more like friends than parents. Limited rules can lead to children ending up with unhealthy eating habits, especially regarding snacks. This can result in increased risk for obesity and other health problems later in the child's life. The child may decide their bedtime, if and when to do homework, and how much screen time they have with the computer and television. Freedom to this degree can lead to multiple negative habits, as the parent does not provide much guidance or moderation. Overall, children of permissive parents usually have some self-esteem and decent social skills. However, they can be impulsive, demanding, selfish, and lack self-regulation. And I've also read that this parenting leads to higher substance abuse, statistically. Next one, we heard about the best outcomes, and this is the worst. Uninvolved parenting. This style is also referred to as indifferent or neglectful. Children are given a whole lot of freedom as their parents stay out of the way. They may fulfill the child's basic needs and sometimes not, while generally remaining detached from their child's life. An uninvolved parent does not utilize a particular disciplinary style and has a limited amount of communication with their child. They tend to offer a low amount of nurturing and expect little of their children. The children of uninvolved or neglectful parents usually are resilient and may even be more self-sufficient than children of other types of parenting. However, these skills are developed out of necessity. This is survival. Additionally, they might have trouble controlling their emotions and have less effective coping strategies. They may also have academic challenges and difficulty with maintaining or nurturing social relationships. We were taught in school neglectful parenting has the worst outcomes for the child of all the adverse childhood experiences. Neglect is the hardest. These children and adolescents tend to rank lowest across all domains. They lack self-control, have low self-esteem, less competent, than their peers. Neglect is also a form of trauma and leaves the child vulnerable to other forms of trauma. So I've definitely worked with people who have been neglected as children, and then also, abused by adults unrelated to their parents because they were not protected. When parents are less involved, one child may be a parentified child, expected to take care of younger siblings or even take care of one or more of their parents. This can make it complicated for that child. Parentified children tend to experience insecure attachment with their parents, leading to impacts on future relationships. They have difficulty gaining their own sense of identity and autonomy. As an adult, they may not understand their own needs and desires or have healthy boundaries. They may consider healthy boundaries selfish and feel guilty if they and I've come across this with people I've worked with. Emotionally, this may cause symptoms of depression and anxiety. On another somewhat related note, one of the top trauma experts I studied with said, if you want to raise a narcissist, intersperse neglect with indulgence. So, when both parents are working and they hardly have any time with their children, they can be tempted to, when they do see their children, to indulge them. So that's just something to consider, how to raise a narcissist. This statement gave me a lot to think about, and I have witnessed examples that support, what I heard in that particular training. So children, outcomes, and organized religion. Some blame organized religion for creating intolerance, hatred, and violence, and, people overwhelmed with guilt and anxiety. So there's a study in 2008. Yet there is ample evidence suggesting that participants within organized religion experience more benefits than harm. So the benefits outweigh those sorts of things. In a review on the correlation between health, religion, and spirituality, Koenig, 2015, synthesized evidence from more than 3,000 different studies. Wow. After analyzing these studies, Koenig discovered 3 essential benefits that were positively correlated with religiosity and spirituality. And this is encouraging for devotees. Increased mental wellness, including decreased depression, suicide, and substance abuse. Less risky behaviors, including less risky sexual behaviors, healthier diets, and increased physical activity. And 3, increased physical health, including fewer chronic illnesses and lower mortality rates. And then you'll get in the notes a long list of studies. This other study reached similar conclusions. They found that religiosity was linked to improved health habits, while spirituality was linked to improved biomarkers, including healthier blood pressure levels and increased immunity. Lastly, religiosity was also found to increase self-esteem and improve interpersonal relationships. So effective religious parenting involves communication, closeness, warmth, support, and monitoring. In other words, parents develop an authoritative style. That's the high structure, high warmth, high autonomy in their religious parenting. Additionally, these researchers encourage parents to foster and include their children in daily practices. This has benefits, and we know what those daily practices are for our religion. Religious authoritative parenting prioritizes mutual respect and constructive discipline with minimal conflict. When this authoritative parenting includes frequent attendance of religious services, families are more likely to experience a healthy religious transference between parent and child. Rather than apply excessive force, it is recommended that parents set boundaries and religious expectations to their home, in their home, as well as encourage children to participate in religious rituals and activities. After all, healthy religious and spiritual practices can offer so many benefits I've already listed, as well as sense of meaning and higher academic achievement. I don't know if I mentioned that before. If parents want to positively influence their child's religiosity, they must prioritize two-way, respectful religious conversations with their children. So this is nectar, getting to talk about Guru and Guru Varga and Panchatattva and Radha and Krishna. Parents should teach principles more than attempting to enforce religious practices. So if a child does not want to pray or attend church, or in our case, does not want to chant japa and go to the temple, parents are recommended to patiently explain the principle behind the practices of hearing, chanting, and worshiping, remembering. Forcing a child to participate without explanation often leads to rebellion, bitterness, or blind obedience rather than true faith and understanding that's more sustainable. So the therapeutic remedies that we've studied and attachment. So expansion brain spotting helps the person and their parts develop a healthy attachment to both their soul, the goodness of their own soul, and their higher power, whether that be Guru Varga, Gora, Nitai, Radha Krishna, or some other, Ishtadev, deity of choice. The qualities of that higher power are ideally consistent with the qualities of an ideal parent. For example, Krishna is Madhuram, sweet. Radha is Karunika, empathic and kind. And IFS, as I've mentioned in a prior class, internal family systems enables the ego state parts of a person to be reparented by the person's soul or self. And this is a process of repair of attachment wounds by a person's soul being consistent, compassionate, accepting, nurturing, attentive, and in some cases providing some firm yet loving boundaries for behavior when needed. So, all parts are accepted, not all behavior is accepted. More often than not, the parts wish to shift on their own volition and be effective and helpful with roles while respecting and encouraging self or soul leadership. When guided by the therapist, finding out what role the part is burdened by, asking the part if it would be helpful if the person's self took over that job so that they don't have that burden, especially if they're, too young to have that burden, not be a real burden. In the notes, I'll include a recorded online training, which is the first training I ever did in IFS, if someone wanted to sort of reinforce what we've learned in this class. Hypnotherapy may help reduce the stress in the system that increases reactivity and activation of existing attachment wounds. Processes can help access and heal attachment wounds and other trauma across lifetimes and generations. So, I watched a demo yesterday where it was, as I reflected on it, it was clear to me that the pattern, it was a parent-child relationship, that the pattern on the part of the child would have been ancestral or past life and probably the Holocaust. That didn't come up in the demo because it was demoing, expansion brain spotting. But to me, I was like, oh, well, hypnotherapy could help. In trance, it may be easier to develop a loving relationship with Guru and Radha and Krishna, as well as other deities. Suggestions in trance can support healthy habits, which raise self-esteem. So, yeah. So let's do our On that note, let's do our hypnotherapy darshan demo.
You see me well
Kanana.
enough? How do you go out and drink it?
I
This cup.
can. I can see you very well, and I can hear you. That's even better. It's good to be able to hear each other without strain. Um, would you like to recline and make
This is,
yourself comfortable?
I'm reclining.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Well, uh, when it comes to reclining, this level of uprightness, definitely less likely to fall asleep. So that's the advantage.
Yeah.
So,
I
um,
mean, I go into hypnosis pretty easily.
would you like me to shorten the induction or would you like the full progressive muscle relaxation?
But it worked last time.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. And who would you like to meet with?
Prabhupada.
Beautiful. So, yeah, go ahead and make yourself comfortable. It's okay to adjust for comfort at any time. Um, Before we start, if there's anything you need in terms of, restrooms and sip of water, feel free. So notice above you and a little bit of in front is hovering a golden magnet. This is a magnet of golden light, which is empowered by the removers of obstacles to absorb anything you wish to release in this session, any obstacles to relaxation or connecting, or perhaps even if you wish to release any third eye obstacles. Go ahead and assure your parts it's safe to relax. And now take a couple of deep breaths while focusing on the sensation in the back of your throat with the inhale. And then focus on a long, relaxed exhale, perhaps pretending you're blowing through a straw. Notice your head relaxing, unwinding, and letting go of any tension. Invite the muscles of your jaw to soften and relax. Notice your mouth relaxing. Notice your cheeks relaxing. Notice your sinuses relaxing, unwinding, and letting go. It's safe to relax. And then notice your forehead and scalp relaxing. And releasing any tension as you sink even deeper down into relaxation. Notice your brain relaxing, unwinding, and letting go. And notice as your brain relaxes, your thoughts automatically begin to slow down until your thoughts are just like leaves floating down a meandering stream. And there's no need to pay your thoughts any particular attention as they slowly float on by. Now notice the muscles around your eyes relaxing. Notice your eyelids getting so heavy, so relaxed. It's as if you couldn't open them. You know you could if you really wanted to, but relaxation feels so good. You simply choose to keep them closed. Notice now the muscles of your neck and throat relaxing. And as your neck muscles relax, your vertebrae naturally come into alignment. Your muscles soften, becoming loose and limp like rubber bands or soft rubber. Notice your shoulder muscles relaxing, unwinding, and letting go of any tension, any stress, burdens of responsibility, and relaxing even deeper down. Notice your upper back sinking into relaxation. Notice your upper back and the mid-back muscles relaxing tension, softening, becoming loose and limp as you sink even deeper down into relaxation. Notice any remaining tension flowing now from your neck, back, shoulders, flowing down your upper arms, forearms, and through your hands and out of your fingertips, and then into the golden magnet. Now tell yourself, my hands feel warm and heavy. And again, my hands feel warm and heavy. Notice your chest relaxing. Notice you're breathing in relaxation as your lungs relax and releasing any remaining tension with each exhale. Notice your heart relaxing, unwinding, and letting go of tension, emotional pain. Notice your chest sinking even deeper down into relaxation. Now notice your belly above your navel relaxing, your stomach muscles softening and becoming loose. Notice your liver area relaxing and releasing any stress, any aggravation, and then relaxing even deeper. Now notice your belly at your navel and below your navel, relaxing, unwinding, and letting go. Kidneys relaxing, adrenals relaxing, so relaxed. You don't have to know where anything is, just knowing they're relaxing. Feel what it feels like. To feel not only safe, but secure. The feeling of knowing that your survival needs are taken care of and will be taken care of in the future. Now notice your lower back relaxing, unwinding, and letting go. Notice your pelvic area relaxing, unwinding, and letting go of any tension. Notice your legs relaxing. Your legs now feel so relaxed, so heavy. It's as if you couldn't lift them. Notice your feet relaxing, unwinding, and letting go. Now notice any remaining tension in your hips and lower body flowing from the tops of your hips down through your pelvis, upper legs, lower legs, ankles, feet and out of your toes, drawn into the golden magnet. And now feeling that relaxation in your body and mind, we'll do a deepener. Just a countdown with fractionation. Notice your sensation of relaxation doubling with each count. 10, 9, 8, 7. You are doing very well, feeling more and more calm, more and more serene. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. So peaceful. 5, 4, 3, 2, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now imagine you are floating on a soft mattress and a state of total peace and relaxation, as if not a care in the world. Stay here for a moment, reveling in the peace and serenity. Now imagine yourself in your magic transcendental garden. Notice any Tulsi in your garden. No, there's nothing you're allergic to. Notice the flowers, their colors, fragrances, ready to be offered to the deities. Notice the greens of leaves, grass, colors of the sky. Notice if there's any water in or near your garden. If there's fountain or stream or waterfall. Notice the sounds and fragrances of the water. And notice the feel, the temperature of the air. Perhaps there's sunshine that you feel, breeze. Go ahead and let me know when you're in your standing in your empowerment spot, in your garden. And now go ahead and invite Srila Prabhupada to meet with you in your garden. Let me know when Srila Prabhupada is in your garden. And now go ahead and have your private darshan with Srila Prabhupada. You can ask whatever questions you'd like to ask. It may be, sometimes it's more energetic than verbal. You can provide a commentary for the demo, or you can wait until afterwards.
I'm sitting at his feet and speaking with him. And he's responding by placing his hand on my head.
Beautiful.
Reassuring me about my prayer. He'll take care of everything.
Mm. And if anyone wants to chat what you're hearing, feel free.
I'm just asking for different spiritual benedictions.
Spiritual benediction, beautiful.
He said I can trust everything's okay.
You can trust.
He's pleased with me. We're finished.
Actually, do you feel like asking him for feedback about the work you're doing, helping devotees with their issues? You don't have to.
He says it's good, but he has other concerns.
If you'd like, invite him to share his other concerns.
He has a number of them.
Mm.
He says it's okay. He doesn't need to share them.
Mm. And now thank him if you'd like, and notice him going to where he is and perhaps where he always is, present with you.
It's in my heart.
Beautiful. And Pranada, we have time. Would you like to have a darshan with someone else? Or does that feel, we have time if you'd like to have a darshan with someone else.
Yeah, we can go to Sanatan Goswami.
Mm. Go ahead and invite Sanatan Goswami to join you in your magic transcendental garden, and let me know when Sanatan Goswami is here. And go ahead and have darshan with Sanatan Goswami.
I'm paying dandavats. And I've given the garland and put on sandalwood paste and flowers at his feet.
Mm. Flowers at his feet, beautiful.
He's rubbing my back.
Mm.
Like he's transferring spiritual strength to me.
Transferring spiritual strength, beautiful.
Okay.
Mm. I notice Sanatan Goswami going to where he is.
He's on my shoulder, watching.
Mm. And if you'd like, of course, thanking him for the spiritual strength and support and the special blessing from the session. And we have time. Would you like to meet with someone else? So perhaps Didi Ishtade or someone else? Looks like you're saying that's complete for today.
Yeah.
Now go ahead and come back from your magic garden to the space of the room where you are, feeling the sensation of your body on the chair, the temperature of the air in the room where you are. I can see you're already moving your arms. In a moment, I'm going to count to 5. And on the count of 5, you'll feel refreshed as if you've just had a very deep rest, still relaxed and yet alert, ready to ask questions now, ready to go on about the rest of this class and the rest of your day. And 1, wider awake. 2, you can continue moving your body, feeling the energy coming into your body as you come wider awake. 3, feeling even better and wider awake. 4, and feeling just right and wide awake. I can see you already open your eyes.
I knew you were going.
Huh?
I knew where you were going with your up. You're bringing me up.
Is there anything you want to share about your experience?
It was it's like similar to the connection that I have when I'm, not in hypnosis and saying prayers, but it's a little more, it feels a little more connected and uh, uh, like, a nice opportunity to deepen the dialogue and make some devotional offering in the mind to them.
Mm,
Feeling their, definitely feeling their presence.
mm. And can you see how that might be helpful for devotees who maybe don't have that level of connection with their prayers? They might not have that, the same level of awareness and uh, consciousness
Yeah,
that you have.
yeah, and I think it could be, presented as an option also for yeah, I think if they had a perspective, if they had a perspective that they could maybe, not only just have a conversation, but actually to make some seva offering and give so that they have something where they go with their meditation that welcomes the deity or the personality. That was nice.
Mm, yeah, that's a wonderful suggestion to incorporate. Yeah. And I noticed your voice got a lot softer. So
When
I was
after I back up, you mean?
uh
Or yeah, no, I was in hypnosis.
no, not even just in hypnosis, but went with the darshan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of emotions running,
Mm,
in their
mm,
presence. And yeah, each opportunity do we have to associate with these great souls is pretty significant.
oh yes. Yeah. It's the highest benediction.
Yeah, and I mean, I always say this, but then you experience how they really are there to help us in our bhakti, and we just have to reach out to them and ask for their help, and they are there and they're willing to give it.
Mm. Oh, well, that is the perfect message to take with us. Thank you, Pranita. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Um,
That was
oh,
nectar.
do you have any, before you go anywhere, do you have any um, questions? And other people can start raising your virtual hands. Questions, comments. Uh,
Can I ask about anything in general?
yes, this is in general.
Okay. In terms of the question that you answered at the beginning, where the self is lacking in leadership at the moment for someone, um, even if we don't have an agenda with them, you, I thought that the way that the parts therapy is working is that you're trying to get the self to take leadership and to help manage the parts. And so I guess the question is, do you just invite the self to take over leadership, even though the parts are saying, I don't trust them, I don't trust them, I don't trust them, I don't trust
Yes.
them, I don't trust them to take
Yeah.
over for me, I don't trust her, she's disappointed me or whatever.
Yeah. So that's a no.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's a clear no. So you just are
Yeah.
patient and it doesn't have to happen in any certain time frame. It will happen. Or are we just circling around these parts and we're not making headway, or any headway we make is like, you said how get them to hear from the self to appreciate them, understand that they're helping the self, and even knowing how old the self is, all these things. If you do those steps, then you're making progress, and gradually the self will come into leadership. Would you say that?
Yes, the goal is self-leadership. The goal is not circling around with the
I
parts and not going anywhere.
know.
So if circling around with parts and not going anywhere is happening, then there's something that could be adjusted. So it could be that uh, when you're facilitating the soul or self working with one part at a time, it could be that it's not the soul or self. Maybe it's a self-like part, a manager.
Yeah. Mhm.
Um, and when you said the goal is the self-managing, um,
Leading.
leading, there you go. Yeah. And that's, you know, when I kind of, go through the protocol and ask the parts how they like their job, what's challenging for them. I mean, so many of them are just exhausted
Yeah,
or they're
yeah, they're
they're
like
too
ready.
young, it's like, and then if you ask them, you can ask the person, it, would you like to take over the job for this part? And then you ask the part, would you like the
Yeah,
self to
and then
take
that's when
over this
that's when
job?
they say, I don't trust her.
Yeah, so they're not ready, and that you just honor,
Okay,
and
yeah.
then but most often I found in my practice, they're like, yes, they really do. Once that trust is there, once they're updated,
Okay, so that's the
once
point. How do you increase the trust in sessions or in between sessions?
oh, I wrote that down, didn't I? Oh no, so increasing trust uh it can happen in a number of ways. One of them is just guiding the person to ask the part, how can I earn your trust?
Mhm,
Or
mhm,
asking, if you're doing direct access, asking the part, how can your person earn your trust? Um,
mhm.
the regular check-ins in between sessions help with that. So with the check-ins, I really check in with the person also. Is this something you can commit to? So it's not an automatic,
Yeah.
sometimes a part will say, I want to be checked in 3 times a day. This part has not gotten enough attention in their childhood, in their life. And then I'll ask the person, is that going to work for you? And the person might say, once a day will work for me. And so then, you know, uh, then we ask the part, is once a day okay? Um, but also just helping the part heal their trust wounds, unburden their fear of trusting because trust, chances are, has been betrayed.
Right.
So, so depending on the person and the part, it can, there's any number of ways. You can imagine, like, here's chances are the part who's younger than the person. Think of that age. Think of how
Mhm.
you might work with someone who's afraid to trust, who just doesn't trust. What would be helpful?
Mhm.
So, and of course, that two-way communication. So you or the person not just deciding what's good for the part, but
Right.
getting that curiosity. When in doubt, get curious. Thank you, Pranada.
Thank
We have
you.
I see another questioner, Sangi.
Well, that was also a very wonderful question that Pranada asked. Um, and that's a very valid thing, how to develop more trust in the self, to take that leadership. And I was thinking about that, creating empathy for that self who's been through so much too, uh, and cutting her some slack. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
That's what I've done in my work. I'm just recalling a little bit of that. And
Yeah.
then my little part, my little girl feeling more trusting of myself in that relationship. A relationship was forming,
Hmm.
and then trust was building. I was far out. Anyway, I love that guided imagery. I jumped right in. I laid down because I want to connect with Prabhupada too. And I have to say that Prabhupada loved my garden. It was so amazing to meet with him in my garden. That was so beautiful. And like I have goosebumps now that I I was around, but I wasn't one of those people who would rush in, and I wasn't there. I didn't have that kind of sukriti, I guess. And Prabhupada has always seemed distant to me and worshipable, but distant. And love is not like that. Love for me needs to kind of have a connection, a reciprocation. And I know all my friends, Guru Das and others, their intimacy and is so heartwarming and genuine. I didn't have that. So how do you make that into love? But anyway, so what I did was I did ask Prabhupada to see me and to let me understand his love, let me feel loved by him. It can't be just a word. It doesn't work for me to have it just be a word. And because I know what love is a little bit, and I want that with him too. So I felt that, I felt seen, I felt connected for a brief time, and that was such a gift.
Mm.
And maybe that's the beginning of a deepening of relationship.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean? To have a kind of intimacy, more,
Yeah.
not as much awe and reverence. That's kind of
Mm.
what I have now. But
Mm.
I would love his love. I would love to feel
Mm.
love.
Mm.
And I just want to say that, and you do group hypnosis sessions, right? I have been part of group hypnosis sessions in the past.
Mm.
You do those.
I did in Badger. Maybe that was what you're remembering.
I
Yeah.
also, in the way past, when I studied here with the
Oh,
hypnotherapy,
okay.
that's
Yeah.
pretty awesome. Maybe we'll
Yeah.
do it again this year in Badger. But
Mm.
anyway, um, this was an amazing experience. These 12 weeks have been really enriching, eye-opening, very deepening, soul touching, And I just want to thank you for this well organized and lovely, wonderfully executed course. just amazing.
Oh, thank you, Rasaki. You have such a gift for appreciating. And I've seen you appreciate one demo person after another and class itself, and
This was
you're
special.
amazing.
And I'm excited for the future. I just think that this is what the planet needs, what the devotee communities need,
Mm,
more healing like this, so that we can be the
mm,
best messengers of bhakti. How can we be messengers
mm.
of bhakti if we're not experiencing it and swimming in it ourselves? So thank you so much.
Oh, and Rasangi. Oh, Rasangi, I want Rasangi back. You mentioned wanting to offer continuing this. I mean, we can also offer through email, but you're wanting to offer continuing and as a group.
Oh,
Go ahead and let
no.
everybody know.
Oh, good. I'm just wanting that we stay connected, everybody, and we can share I've not been well. I've had health issues. I'm coming out of it now. I found a good homeopath. I'm feeling a little better. So I want to practice and I want to share these wonderful skills that we've learned. And I think it would be really great to stay connected somehow, maybe through email, through a once a month get together. I'm open to see what might come. And that might encourage us all to practice more. If we have some accountability to come back and share, we'll give it a go and then be able to share what we've learned with each other.
Perfect. Thank you. Sukhavahadasi.
I wanted to say I'm really sorry I haven't been able to attend most of the sessions. I think I attended 2 or 3 because I've been working with my children and grandchildren, second and third generation devotees, and that was overwhelming.
Mm,
So,
I
but I
totally
did,
understand.
yeah. But I really appreciate what you're doing. I work a lot with Karuna Care with Mother Ramburu, um, and teaching courses.
If you don't mind
And
either
I do
bringing your
all.
mic up just a little closer, maybe
Okay,
speaking a little louder.
yeah. Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So I've been working with Ramburu and Karuna Care and doing courses like that. And I've done a lot of one-on-one sessions for devotees. And like Rasanga was saying, this is really so needed in the devotee community for our growth and development spiritually. Even we are a bhakti tradition, a feeling tradition. And so I appreciate what you've done, and I'd like to learn more, and I really wanted to be a part of all these sessions. I just wasn't able to, but I really appreciate the internal family systems. I've done some work with that. I haven't done hypnotherapy, but I've done like a meditation. So I think it's like half hypnotherapy, but not really. Where I lay down, the person lays down, and then they're going into some place that's safe, and they create that. So
Mm.
I really appreciate what you're doing, and I would like to have more time together, even though maybe no one feels really connected to me. I feel connected to the work you're doing, and I wanted to thank you so much for offering this, and I hope I can review the materials.
Well, you'll be glad to know that we have filmed this entire course. And so there's these sites where they can like make it available for 6 months so people can, you know,
Yep.
can watch it on their own time and all that. So I will keep everybody on this email list posted for sure when that's ready and available.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Sarit.
I was wondering, I have a few questions, but I don't know if we can get all. But when you do a session with IFS, when the person, there's not like so much of an issue with the parts not trusting the person, but the person is really like very much blended with their part, doesn't even see that how that part is really causing trouble for them, but they think that it's just really what it needs to do and how it's good for them or something. So how do you deal with that?
So you're saying their present life they believe is good for them, and you're looking at it and going, I don't think so. Is that what you're saying?
Well, they're talking about this part which, yeah, kind of like it's not just like I look at it, it's just like it's a part that um, that cause troubles with others a lot.
Mhm.
And when you know the person and you know that part, when you talk about these parts, I'm just
Mhm.
and you know that these parts cause a lot of trouble for the person and for people around them. I mean, for the person, I mean, the person know that to some extent, but they don't. But you just feel this part is just them. It's just really them. It's just what they need to do, what they need, how it need to be, Uh, and
Oh, great
it,
question.
it's just
Yeah,
so
so
that
they're really blended with that
yeah,
part. So you
yeah,
really are hearing from the part more than the person's self. Yeah.
yeah.
So some of the things that help with unblending are, that question, how do you feel towards this part? Which is a very early on question that IFS therapists will ask. Um, and another something else that can help with unblending is um, do you think you might feel better coming out? You can ask the part, or the person can ask the part. You think you might feel better coming out of my body so that we can relate with each other? So actually, kind of a physical coming, out. uh, You know, if there happens to be an empty chair, but a part can sit on the desk or can just be next to the person, and so that can help with the unblending also. Just like we're asking other parts if they're willing to be in the gallery, or we're asking the target part if that part is willing to come out of the person's body, and so that for more ease of conversation. And on occasion you can have, and this might be further along in the therapy, but you can have the person meet with multiple parts uh, in like visualizing some version on a conference room or a group therapy room, or um, uh, self is facilitating the meeting. So that's another option. I don't think I've mentioned that one before, but that's also um, an option with IFS. There's so many ways that you can, be creative.
Okay. And
I think I did mention it when you're working with polarized parts,
I think you
that you
did
can
mention
kind of
before that
you can
about
bring them together,
mm,
and with some ground rules, like one part speaking at a time, they can have some sort of visualized talking stick if needed or if helpful. Any other questions about that, or?
I had another question. Well, one was the hypnotherapy. I'm just like I haven't done before, but I know whenever you start with just the relaxation, for me, I'm just like, zooming out, and I just at some point I hear the voice, I don't hear the question so much and things like that. So I'm
Mm.
wondering if there are any guidelines to tell the person before, or even for you when you guide them to kind of like, that they don't fall asleep like fully or go and kind of slowly, um, out. I mean, it's not exactly falling asleep, but it's just like basically, yeah, I feel like I just don't hear the guidance anymore. It's kind of like I hear it as a voice, like in a,
Uh-huh. So glad you asked that question. And you can let the person, it's okay to drift, dream, and float and not hear all the words. So that can be reassuring for a person if they're not hearing all the words. And as far as sleep, um, if someone falls asleep, I let them sleep for like a minute. And then I say, okay, now you're going to wake up and come to the ideal level of trance, and I'll wake them up. I figure if they fall asleep in trance, they really need what I call a hypno nap, like a little bit of sleep. And so that's what I do. I mean, other people might do different things, but if someone falls asleep in trance, chances are that's what they need the most is some sleep. And it does work to kind of, wake them up and just give that suggestion. You're going to wake up now and come to the ideal level of trance. If they wake up too far, you can always just do a countdown. You don't have to do the whole progressive muscle relaxation over again, but you can just do a little bit of a deepener. And if they go from sleep to like, oh, I fell asleep, now I'm going to be really awake and their eyes open, and then you can do a countdown, and that should work.
Okay. And another question I had about brain spotting with kids, like if you do it with kids too, you can do it, and if the guidance for them is going to be different, like how you do it with kids, basically,
Um,
if it works.
so I work with adults, so I'm not an authority at working with kids. And there are people who teach sort of online classes, brain spotting with kids. And because I'm working all with adults, I haven't taken those trainings. However, um, it's the same with, adapted to kids. Kids, I've heard tend to process faster. So, they might say, okay, it's better now. You know, they're on kid time, so it might not take a whole hour, Um, but the basic, you know, is the same for kids. Let's see, what else might I say about kids, not other than I'm not an authority doing brain spotting with kids. Um, it's, I mean, how wonderful for kids to be able to receive some brain spotting and not, carry whatever it was into their, adult life, and just clear it up on, so close, chances are close to the negative experience or the trauma or whatever's going on. So I really encourage you and other devotees to work with Krishna's children.
Would you do that like with the kids, say when they are like they get upset on something, then you just take that situation and do it with them, or it's kind of more if you know
You
something
could,
about them.
yeah, you could. Um, I mean, just off the top of my head, making it up as I go along, but that moving brain spot, kids might like that moving brain spot, Let me know when you want me to stop. Um, uh, that's also called outside window in brain spotting. Um, Also gaze spotting. Um, you know, Asking a kid, the double spotting, asking a kid, like, where do you feel, the upset more? Uh, where do you feel, there's in traditional brain spotting, there's the body resource spot. Where do you feel most grounded, neutral, and calm in your body? You feel more grounded, neutral, and calm looking here, here, here. Expansion brain spotting, which is more what I've been teaching, where do you feel most loved? Where do you and you can bring in, uh, spiritual resourcing, uh, gurus, deities, um, devotional teachers the kid really feels connected to and admires, bringing in the feeling of that that love, that appreciation, that energy of bhakti that they feel around that person. So that can be really helpful. And I was hoping I'd have time to ask for a question from someone we haven't heard from. So thank you, everybody. This has been, such an honor, truly, truly. Actually, why don't we go ahead and just Pananda can turn off the camera, and why don't I just go ahead and ask for a question from someone who hasn't asked a question yet? And